from start to finish of those 2 months of the playoffs, what stands out for you?
Well, there's too many, but I think that when you boil it down, I think it's just the country itself and how they embrace this magical run.
The Toronto Raptors are the 2019 NBA champions. It's real.
I got a dream and it's all I see. I got my team and it's all I need.
Canada, the NBA title is yours.
Hello again. It's another edition of Basketball Central. I'm Brad Fay, and this time around, it's all about what was going on at this time last year. Yes, the NBA championship run of the Toronto Raptors. And to that end, Matt Devlin, Leo Rautins, Michael Grange will be along with their favorite memories and their choice of the player outside of Kawhi Leonard who was most instrumental in the championship. The Swish and Bricks segment with Alvin Williams, Danielle Michaud, and Eric Smith will also be all about the Raptors' run to the championship. But first, a player that had an integral part in it and has really taken things to a different level off the court as well. Serge Ibaka at home with Danielle Michaud.
I'm joined today by Serge Ibaka. Serge, really great to see you. And first and foremost, want to check in. How have you been doing?
I've been doing good. Can't complain. You know, just try to stay busy and try to work out and, try to figure out what's going on and wait for the moment.
Now, I know you've managed to get back to the OVO Center and they've opened up and there's a lot of safety protocols in place. How big of an adjustment has that been for you? What's that been like?
It's different. You know, like I've been working at home, during all this moment, but going on the practice court, having opportunity to practice with the basketball, the NBA practice court, all that kind of stuff is really big difference. Make a big difference. And as a players, we all need that, especially mentally. When and we may have chance to play again. It's tough. Like just be at home, working out here, and knowing the season may come back, and you still not have opportunity to go work in your game. It's kind of tough mentally. But now having opportunity to go back at the practice facility and just shooting the ball every day, it feels good. Even we still not have access to do everything we want there. Like use the weight room or all the necessary equipment we need. But at the same time, it just we just, as like personally myself, I just feel grateful. Just to go back and do something I love to do.
Well, in this family in particular, this Toronto Raptors one that you're a part of, extremely successful. It's been almost a year now, if you can believe it, since you won that championship. When you think of that day and that time, what memories flood back to you?
Sometimes I still feel like it only happened like 2-3 months ago.
Yeah.
It don't really feel like it's been a year already. It don't really feel that. Like I don't really feel that because I just feel like we're just finishing to play like a couple months ago. We won the championship.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. It feels good. To be part of this historic moment, and for this country, for this team, and me especially, being part of this is a big. I know how important it is for all the Canadians, how big it is, and me being part of this, I just feel blessed for this moment.
Yeah, we've really, Serge, seen you blossom here in Toronto, both I think as a basketball player and as a person. Why is that's happened now, do you think? Is it something about the city, the team, or is it just you yourself maturing as you get older?
It is self-mature. I'm getting older, learning and understanding things, understanding life, knowing like, hey, after basketball, we still gonna have life after basketball, right? Like as a young athlete, when you come in the league, you think like, that's it. I'm the NBA, this is my life, I'm focusing. Yeah, it's good. You have to be focused, but you have to understand some point where we have life after basketball. You know, and like even the basketball, just a game, we want to win, we want to go home, but we are live. You know, so just from mastering, learning things, you understand life is important. You know, and you learn a lot, you know, just from playing basketball and things from outside. It's kind of normal, you know, with time, you're going to learn things, and you're going to try to do what you think is right.
I'm glad that brings you a lot of joy, because I know it brings Canadians and Raptors fans a lot of joy to see you do those things. So thanks for sharing that side of you. We appreciate it.
Welcome.
Pascal sidestep about his performance. Draymond denied. None other than Spicy P. Lowry a three. Got it. Big bucket. Here's Lowry again. He is on fire. Van Vliet. Step back and he drills a three. Fred Van Vliet releasing all the energy. The Toronto Raptors are the NBA champions.
One of my favorite things to do in this business is to throw to any combination of Matt, Leo, and Michael Grange. And guys, we all know where we were this time last year. Career highlight for all of us. Love that Hubie Brown gave the vote to Fred Van Vliet for NBA Finals MVP. We know, Matt, that Kawhi Leonard was the key to everything. But who beyond that do you think contributed the most to the Raptors championship a year ago?
It's not an easy one to answer because, as we know, throughout the entire run, there were so many individuals that stepped up. But at the end of the day, I'm going to lean on Kyle Lowry for what he did in Game 6 and the start. After Game 5 being up, he came out, Brad, with the intent, as we know, the resiliency, the fire to say, you know what, we're not going back to Game 7. We're coming out here, we're dominating, we're getting this done tonight. So I'm going to say Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, amazing. He misses a shot in Game 5 or has it blocked to win the title, and then hits the first bundle in Game 6. Leo, where do you go?
I'm going with Kyle Lowry, hands down. I mean, Kyle Lowry's been the glue guy. He's the fighter. He's the guy that sets the tone. And throughout the playoffs, he was there. Make no mistake, that was still Kyle's team.
Michael, you going to go Hubie Brown for us? Go somewhere else?
I would. Fred deserves some recognition, obviously, but people forget the first half of the playoffs, he just struggled so badly. I mean, he finished like a house on fire. But also, I'll go Pascal Siakam. People kind of forget that heading into the playoffs last year, he was kind of an unknown quantity. He had a great first year as a starter and had shown some real flashes when Kawhi Leonard wasn't participating. But what was he going to do as a number 2 option on a team that was going to try and win an NBA title? And he faced some of the best defenders in the world. There was always, an all NBA level defender against him, Draymond Green, in the finals. And, he had some rough spots, but I thought overall, you look at that body of work, that the Raptors don't win without him.
Well, if it's tough to pick a player, it's even tougher to pick one memory. I'm going to go off the board very quickly with mine, because this time of year, I will always think of arriving about 3 hours early for Game 1. And the Golden State Warriors buses pulled in. There were fans outside. It was like a rock concert. You realize the NBA Finals are in town. And from that point forward, you're in different territory. So, Matt, from start to finish of those 2 months of the playoffs, what stands out for you?
Well, there's too many, but I think that when you boil it down, I think it's just the country itself and how they embraced this magical run. And then also how it moved with the Raptors. It gives me goosebumps on the road, inclusive of the national anthem being sung at Oracle Arena on multiple occasions throughout the entire postseason. I really think about the fans and their stories. That's what stands out.
A lot of the American reporters, Leo, couldn't believe Game 1, saying one of the great scenes they'd ever seen with the anthem that Matt just alluded to. Where do you go?
I have to say the same thing. I mean, the Raptors took over the country. An unbelievable amount of people watched Toronto play in the NBA Finals and win an NBA championship. So to me, is the impact that it had on the game. That to me was amazing. And selfishly, surviving the finals by the falling lights not killing me.
There's a light from the ceiling that came down and landed right here.
Yes.
If I leaned over this way, it'd be over. Done.
Yes.
That almost killed me tonight.
That was good too. All right, Michael, last word to you.
I'll go with Kawhi Leonard dunking over Giannis in Game 6, or the breakaway dunk at the end in the fourth quarter of Game 6, and just putting a cap on that run. And all of a sudden, Brad, I remember we were up on our little broadcast perch with Alvin, and the building, everyone in the building knows they're going to win. They're going to the NBA Finals. And it was very emotional. People with tears, I wouldn't be all that far from tears at the time. It was just one of those moments. And as Matt points out, there's more than one in the playoffs where every single person with every fiber of their body and every cell of their body was feeling the same thing. And it was joy. And it was something you almost never get to experience. The Raptors provided more than one of them. But Kawhi Leonard's dunk in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, that's the one for me.
Yeah, as I'm sure you guys agree, a year later, everybody still wants to talk about their favorite memories. Great to do it with you guys. Be well. We'll talk soon.
It feels like it's been 1,000 years since basketball in general, fellas, but it's only been 1 year since the Raptors and Warriors faced off in the NBA Finals. Hard to believe. So I figured we'd get a little nostalgic for this week's Swishes or Bricks. And I'm actually going to start with Drake because I feel like he set the tone rocking the Del Curry throwback courtside for Game 1. Alvin, was that fit a swish or a brick?
That's a swish. I love it, representing my OG Del Curry and the timing of it. So that was definitely a swish for me.
And I say it's a swish as well, Al, because of the backstory behind it too. The fact that he had to, go on the internet. I think it was eBay or something. Anyways, he tracked down this guy's jersey. I mean, that's why it had the autograph on the back as well. Buying it from some random dude online just in time for the game. It's not like he just had this thing hanging in his closet. So an absolute swish.
But I don't think Drake was as creative as Nick Nurse. And I say this because in Game 2, we saw him bust out the box and one scheme to try and contain Steph Curry. Alvin, you probably learned it and played it in elementary school. But was the box and one defensive scheme a swish or a brick?
It was a brick. I hated it. I hated it. But it was something that threw the Warriors off. And I have to give Steve Kerr a brick as well because he wasn't prepared for it, and the players, it looked like they're back in third grade. They just couldn't figure it out. But Nick Nurse did a great job of stepping outside the box, no pun intended. You know what? I'm gonna go back. It was a switch.
Wow! Hey, full the way around, Alvin.
I'm sitting here listening. I'm saying, hold on a second. How can it be a brick on both coaches? How can it be a brick on Nick Nurse for doing it, but then a brick on Steve Kerr for not reacting to it? So I'm glad you came around, Al. It's an absolute swish because it worked.
I'm awarding a quick brick to Alvin right off the hop here, just for fence sitting and going back and forth, Alvin. You gotta know. Now, Toronto loses Game 2 and have their work cut out. They gotta hit the road. And Kawhi said in the locker room, according to Nurse, F that, let's get them both. It clearly worked because Fred VanVleet torched Game 3, 33 large. Then in Game 4, he's bloodied, he's losing a tooth. They're comparing him to hockey players. But Alvin, I want to know if you thought it was a swish or brick when the meme came out with him lying on the court, blood dripping down, and comparing him to the other King of the North, Jon Snow.
Well, I have to admit, I don't know who Jon Snow is.
I knew that was coming.
I knew it.
I don't know that it seemed cool. I didn't know, so swish?
You help him out. It's a swish, right?
It's a swish.
So the Raptors take a 3-1 series lead, but Game 5 had all kinds of drama. Close game, late, and Toronto rips off a big run to pull ahead, and then they seem to lose all that steam when Nick Nurse calls a timeout with about 3 minutes left. Alvin, he got crushed online for this, but did you think that timeout call was a swish or a brick?
That was a brick. All the way brick. When I was watching the game, I was like, what the hell is going on? What's Nick Nurse thinking?
That is a timeout that I would argue Nick takes probably 95% of the time. He always takes that timeout at the 3-minute mark. However, there's no denying the end result of what happened. So without saying that Nurse is a bad coach or whatever else, in that moment, that decision backfired, which makes it a brick.
Now, they still had a chance to win it after all that. Kyle Lowry, ball in his hands, felt like it was made to be a Disney movie. Obviously, Draymond got a little piece of it, goes off the backboard, pretty hideous end. Now, it got compared to Carlton Banks' infamous shot for the Bel Air Academy when he stole the ball from Will Smith. Is that comparison, a swish or a brick for Kyle Lowry?
It's a brick for the reason you just said. The shot was blocked. If Draymond Green doesn't get a piece of that, does the shot go in? Who knows? But I pretty much damn well guarantee it's not hitting the side or the back of the backboard. So it's a brick on that comparison. Can I just say for a second as well, seeing as we're talking about Fresh Prince, we got a little bit of Uncle Phil beard going on Al here right now.
That might be a brick, eh, Al? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm letting my grades come in. I mean, and a bald head, huh? You saying I'm fat too? Are you giving me all 3 E?
Hey man, I don't know what you're snacking on during COVID, buddy. I'm not sure.
The shots here up. We're all good. So we go back to Game 6 at Oracle, and Toronto gets ahead. Crazy end though, with reviews that felt like they took a lifetime. There's 0.9 seconds on the clock. Toronto's going to win a championship, and it took forever to get there. Was that a swish or a brick?
I mean, it was a brick in the sense that it did take away from some of the drama of the moment. It's a brick, but how can you kind of change things? It's the way the game unfolded. At the end of the day, Danielle, I don't know that it really mattered, because as soon as that final buzzer went, the party was full on. So it all turned out well in the end.
I give it a swish, because kill him slow. I like to see him die slow. The Warrior fans and everyone knew that inevitable was going to happen. So kill him slow. I loved it.
Yeah, it was slow and painful, but as you said, a huge celebration. The Raptors win. Yes, it was on the road, but we all know Toronto fans travel like no others. And a huge O Canada broke out at Oracle. Alvin, was that a swish or a brick? That was a trick question, guys. That's obviously a huge swish. It was an amazing moment to celebrate Toronto's first championship. Thanks, fellas.
As always, we welcome your input on Basketball Central. The inbox last time around wanted to know which team will benefit most from the pause, and now a lengthy pause in the NBA, if in fact they can get it back up and running for a playoff run, which certainly seems to be the plan now. Lots to happen between now and then, and a lot of people, not surprisingly, like the Raptors. Maybe because of the depth in a situation like this, it will come in even more handy than it has already for the Toronto Raptors. We at Basketball Central are certainly aware of the horrible, tragic events unfolding very close to home, and the NBA community is one that has gone online with several calls for peace and calls to action for change. And that is how we leave you with this edition of Basketball Central. We will see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
I think it was a boiling point, and people are just fed up, and I think it's time for a change, and everybody's seeing that.
It's impossible not to see it. Like there's something that exists, and I'm sorry to say, if you don't see it, I mean, you must be blind or something.
Just because you have a badge on doesn't make you above the law. You know, you're here to enforce it in the correct way.
As a black man raising black kids in America, I'm scared as hell. Way more scared than I ever was for myself.
Justice will be served, and changes will be made if we all come together, and this is us doing it. This is the first step.
This is a moment. We have leverage right now. We have a moment in time. People are going to look back. Our kids are going to look back at this and say, you were a part of that.
I'm a proud black man.
Say that. Say that.
I mean that. From the bottom of my soul.